All right, everyone, one more off-screen video today as I'm still on my Rona recovery path, but there are a couple big gaming news stories I want to cover with you all, starting with Kirby's Dream Buffet getting an official release date and overview trailer because 2022 is absolutely the year of Kirby and Nintendo is continuing to go all out for the 30th anniversary, so we have to go over those details. Then the big talking point for today's video has to do with official translations that have now been released from Nintendo at their most recent quarterly financial briefing, and we have to break down the exact comments from Nintendo President Shintaro Furukawa around where the Switch is at today, how Nintendo feels about potential price increases, and the future of the Switch hardware as a whole. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, as I mentioned, guys, we are covering two different stories today, and we have to kick it off with a conversation around Kirby's Dream Buffet, as we did get a brand new overview trailer as well as release date confirmation for this game and the price point, as this is an interesting one because it is an eShop only title, meaning no physical releases out there. Definitely has that kind of almost Fall Guys looking vibe and feel, focus on multiplayer, not giant online sections where you're up against 60 other players, but rather focused around up to 4-player online or local wireless play. And then it has also been confirmed that you can now play this game side by side with up to one additional friend on one Switch itself. There were also some pretty cool mechanics showcased, such as high jump, where you can essentially fly over part of the map and basically create a impactful landing that looks like it hampers your opponent's progress. It was also showcased that if you make it to the end of these dessert courses first, there is a large point bonus waiting for you and a mini game mode that very much looks like a slice of Mario Party in the world of Kirby. And this game just looks like outright fun and an easy pick up and play title for any friends that you have over locally, or especially focused but mainly on online play, being based around that 4-player experience. And you can see the confirmation of release date over on Nintendo of America's Twitter, where it says, roll into this smorgasbord of fun with 3 other friends in local wireless or online, or play with a buddy in the same system. Kirby's Dream Buffet releases on 8/17 exclusively on Nintendo Switch. Now, there were a lot of questions around the price point of this title, as clearly this is more of a lighthearted, fun iteration of a Kirby multiplayer game and not something like Kirby in the Forgotten Land, where you would expect a full individual $60 release. Like, it didn't have that vibe whatsoever. I was personally in the camp that I was hoping that Nintendo would do something very different and throw a curveball at us and release this as part of Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack, as I think it would be cool to have one-off standalone eShop games for big franchises that are in Nintendo's wheelhouse, like Kirby, to continue to add value to that service. However, you can see over on the Direct Nintendo Store pre-order page that Kirby's Dream Buffet will be sold for $14.99 and is out next week. So I want to hear from you guys in the comments down below where your hype levels are for Kirby's Dream Buffet, if at all. Are you planning on giving this one a shot at its $15 price point, or would you have rather also had this thrown into the expansion pack? Definitely want to hear your thoughts on that, because I think it would be interesting for Nintendo to experiment with that kind of stuff and see how many subscribers it may drive or not drive depending on the pool of what is added. So please share all your thoughts and feelings on all things Kirby and the support Nintendo's shown for its 30th anniversary and Dream Buffet specifically in the comments down below. Now, the other story we're talking about today has to do with the Nintendo Switch semiconductor shortage, whether or not Nintendo can hit their forecasted numbers, as well as the topic around price increase and just the overall state of the hardware, as it is now in its 6th year of being available and sold on the market. As it's hard to believe, but the original Switch console that many of us still have in our homes originally launched back in March of 2017. And while it's seen huge success on the market so far, touting numbers such as 111 million total units sold, there's a lot of talk online from fans and investors alike wondering, when does Nintendo's momentum slow down with this current lineup of Switch family of systems that we are seeing them market right now? And when we have these quarterly financial briefings, of course, there is always a Q&A section where investors get to ask their set of questions, some of which are answered by Nintendo's president, Shintaro Furukawa himself. And typically we see an initial rough translation come out when these questions hit, and then we get the official transcripts later on. And today we have a very interesting article that does outline the exact official transcripts that we need to read through and get on the same page with where Nintendo views the Switch at this point in its life cycle. So you can see the following posted up over on Go Nintendo, where it says, Nintendo president on semiconductor shortage, Switch sales targets, and again shoots down a Switch price increase. Big talk from the big man. Last week, we shared a tidbit from a Nikkei report on various elements of Nintendo's business. Today brings us the official English translation of that interview, so we can now share more specific details. Nikkei had the chance to speak to Nintendo's president Shintaro Furukawa about Nintendo's business in general, the procurement of semiconductors for Switch production, Switch sales, and so on. You can see a breakdown of the discussion in the excerpts below. First up, here's Nintendo's comment on how the semiconductor situation is going. Nintendo will continue to sell 3 Switch models: the standard model, the Switch Lite with the reduced price, size, and features, and the OLED model. We'll work out the best strategy as we go along. We're doing our best to produce high-quality products at an appropriate price with an eye towards the next few years. Next up, Furukawa once again said Nintendo has no plans to increase the price of the Switch due to the scarcity of components. This time around, Furukawa offered up 2 reasons why the Switch price will remain the same. We're not considering a price increase at this point for 2 reasons. In order to offer unique entertainment to a wide range of customers, we want to avoid pricing people out. Our competition is in the variety of entertainment in the world, and we always think about our pricing in terms of the value of the fun we offer. Our products also include software. Nintendo has sold more than 100 million Switch units so far, and it's important to maintain the momentum of our overall business. Generally speaking, a weak yen makes domestic Switch sales less profitable. Finally, Furukawa shared his outlook for Switch to hit its sales target for this fiscal year. In its 6 years since launch, all I can say is that we'll try to keep up sales at the same pace. Having hit software also gives a boost to hardware. We have a lineup of new games that will allow us to take a crack at meeting our sales forecast, including Splatoon 3 coming out in September and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet in November. So first off, it's nice to hear Nintendo doubling down on the fact that they won't be looking at a price increase as a potential strategy to drive up hardware profit margins in this very interesting time, because normally we would be talking about price slashes for existing model of consoles when they've been sold on the market this long, but instead with other hardware that I think you could argue is somewhat of a competitor to Nintendo, such as the Meta Quest 2, formerly known as the Oculus Quest 2, actually got an announcement for a $100 price increase after that's been available and sold for I don't know how many years now. So it's like, yeah, weird time to be alive, weird time to go through this semiconductor shortage and see the higher prices that come along with it. And some companies are passing the raised cost of production right to the consumer. Nintendo clearly is in a unique position with the kind of software number sales that they produce, not to mention the massive revenue driver that is Nintendo Switch Online and Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack, that they have enough other avenues that hardware price increase at this point is not something we apparently need to be worried about with them. Now, one interesting tidbit from this interview, in my opinion, is Nintendo and their somewhat soft stance on whether or not they'll hit their forecasted sales number, as it does sound very much like, yes, we are hoping that these big software hits like Splatoon 3, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet will all drive additional hardware sales, but it sounds like a less confident statement than they've made in the past around Switch and where it's at today and how it's performing in year-over-year hardware growth, because when it's been out for 5.5+ years now and it's into its 6th year of being sold on the market, yes, you are naturally going to see a decline unless if you dip into part of your user base to justify an upgrade, and the OLED model was just not that for a lot of people, because when you play it docked, it's the same Switch experience. So if you are not a frequent handheld player, there was no reason to double dip and go grab the OLED model, which begs the question, is Nintendo going to ride out this current family of systems to the end of the Switch's true life cycle, or do they do that more powerful hardware refresh at something like the launch of Breath of the Wild 2 in spring of 2023? There's a lot of conflicting reports and information on whether or not they'll do something like that, but I am personally in the camp that that is how Nintendo can secure the Switch family of systems as the best-selling console, home console / portable console of all time period, probably ultimately dethroning the PlayStation 2 from that king throne position, and then have that Pro model take us through the end of 2024 or early 2025 when they do the true next generation for whatever Nintendo has planned down the line. I am hopeful that's the direction that they will go, but I know there's some people that would rather not see a hardware refresh. So at this point in the video, guys, I want to hear from you personally on both the different stories we talked about today. Are you planning on giving Kirby's Dream Buffet any kind of second look now that we know the price point and launch date? And do you think that this would have been better served as a Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack game as opposed to the $14.99 standalone price point that was announced today? And definitely share with me your overall thoughts on how the Switch is performing. Are you relieved that we're not having to worry about any kind of price increase? Do you think Nintendo does hit their sales sales forecast to carry out the rest of this fiscal year? Or do you think they do truly need to start talking about hardware refreshes to get them to that dominant number of 20 to 25 million total units sold each fiscal year? And are you like me and you are hopeful that we do see some kind of pro revision or more powerful hardware launched alongside of something like Breath of the Wild 2? Or would you rather just personally carry out the rest of this Switch's life cycle with the existing family of systems we have today? So regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around this topic. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, where we break down the next time we're going to see big news revealed for Sonic Frontiers and a recap of all of the announcements that came at the Splatoon 3 Nintendo Direct. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.